sick and tired of your love-hate relationship with wine?
Welcome to the Feel It Alcohol-Free podcast. Hi, I'm Coach Ruby Williams.
And I'm Coach Susan Larkin.
We're two former wine lovers turned alcohol freedom coaches, exposing the lies about alcohol.
And giving you, our listeners, the tools to break free so you can feel lit.
And when you're lit, you'll feel healthier, freer, and more in control of your life.
So relax, kick back, and get ready to feel lit alcohol-free.
And don't forget, grab a copy of our wine-free weekend guide after the show. Hello. Coach Ruby and Coach Susan here for another Feel Lit Alcohol-Free episode. We are so excited to talk about, hey, is alcohol fun? That's definitely a belief a lot of people have. Yeah. So this is a question from one of our listeners. So I'm going to go ahead and read it out. For the last decade, alcohol has been in and at everything good, bad, scary, fun, trauma, drama, you name it. So it's how I grew up. Every day had a happy hour. So one thing that is keeping me stuck on my alcohol-free journey is the belief that life will somehow not be as fun or easygoing, or, if I'm not drinking. So how can I overcome the belief that life without alcohol will lack the fun and ease that I've grown accustomed to during happy hours throughout my upbringing? Yeah. So that's such a good question.
Yeah.
Is there another opinion too that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hear that question. Like, I'm just used to happy hours, and alcohol is like part of that fun. And how am I going to ever believe that I could still have fun without it? And I think that, it's through experiencing, That's what I do, and experimenting. That's what I do with my clients. But then also around this fun thing, there's that, like the life of the party person. But then there's also the question that I get from clients a lot, which is, and we had this question too, which is kind of about the same thing. So we wanted to put them together in this episode, which is, I'm quite a shy person and would rarely be the one in the room to start a conversation. I used to think of alcohol as a mask. Once I had alcohol in my system, I had confidence. I would always drink before going out or going into a social situation. Alcohol would allow me to relax and enjoy myself. It made me funny, interesting, and approachable. It made life fun. So here we are back to the fun question. And when you have that belief, so this is a belief that is at the self level, right? It's not just about the substance. It's not just about society, a little bit about society because the societal norms, but the first question, especially around the societal norms around happy hour and drinking at happy hour, and that the happy in happy hour is alcohol, right?
Yeah.
The fun in the happy hour is because of the alcohol. And that's sort of a cultural norm. But then in the second question, it was about, it makes me fun, made me funny. So it's more around the self, around how this person perceives themselves and how they're using alcohol as a social lubricant, right?
Right. And where does this even come from?
Right.
The first question, it came from happy hours growing up. And then, but where does it really come from? I'm here to talk about wine marketing and alcohol marketing. And the elephant in the room here is that what we see, not only from our parents and friends, but what we're seeing in movies, TV, ads, it's totally shaping our beliefs that it's fun, right? You might see a marketing strategy where people are laughing and they're successful and they're having fun and they're on dates and it's romantic and it's just subtle embedding ideas that life's memorable moments require a drink in our hand. Like it literally, that's like, and this portrayal is not accidental. It's actually a calculated effort to link alcohol with positive emotions. It tries to get right to your emotions, right? And then it creates that new neural pathway really fast and fun and alcohol. They're now intertwined. For instance, advertisements frequently show like groups of friends laughing, clinking glasses, right? Toasting, suggesting that alcohol is just like essential for social bonding, enjoyment, and it's even romanticized, a symbol of sophistication. And let's do another example where like a couple's enjoying a candlelit dinner with wine glasses in their hand, implying that it enhances romance. And I hear this from clients all the time, like, how am I supposed to celebrate my anniversary without a glass of champagne or wine? So it really gets so embedded. And, or how about this one, like unwinding after work with like a really high end, like a whiskey or something. And that means that you are successful and it's luxury and you have succeeded. And it just really, wine marketing exploits our desires, connection, love, success, all these emotions. And we start to think we need it for an idealized life. But I want to challenge this. I mean, I really, really want to challenge this. And I'm going to give you one example, like a personal example. So I used to work in the wine industry, as you know, and our listeners know. And I actually had to create an ad for Corbel Champagne. And I created a whole taglines and really wanted to get, and basically it was, and you need a glass of champagne. And that was like the messaging. So we wanted to, like, every celebration had to start with a glass of champagne. So that's really powerful. And it works. It works. And then you'd have people, family members, maybe Thanksgiving or friends out, or girlfriends wine tasting. Like, you just put lots of different groups of people together having fun, right? But that's not the real deal. What's actually happening? Let's just say girls wine tasting after 3 hours of drinking. There's cat fights. There's maybe throwing up. It's not, it cannot be as fun, right? You show the beginning, but not the 3 hours later or whatever. So that's just one example. We're going to talk more about wine marketing and marketing, because I think this is such an interesting topic, but I want to dive into the science. Do you want to share about the science, Susan?
Well, this is the science of fun. So, the science of fun by Catherine Price, who's a science journalist, and she's asked thousands of people across the world the question, and her answers, all the answers, led her to a new definition of true fun, which is a special confluence of playfulness, connection, and flow. So fun is a feeling, not an activity, and it can result from anything, even trivial things. Like, think about, seek out what gives you the feelings, if you want to go through the science of being playful, connected, and flow. And so if we want to, like you said, challenge this, we can take that definition and we could put it against alcohol. Like, how does alcohol really help us be, let's say, connected? I noticed when this was, I totally had that belief, Ruby, and your marketing for Corbel did its number on me for sure. Not you. I'm not blaming you, but I'm just saying, I totally believed that you needed champagne for every celebration. And so, here's at our anniversary. So I'm not drinking, but my husband did drink. And I remember just sitting there, and I remember just seeing, like, the shades come down. And all of a sudden he was like, that's how I describe it. It's like, all of a sudden his eyes were like glazed over. It's like he just pulled like these leveler blinds down over his true self. You know what I mean? All of a sudden he wasn't there. He was kind of talking a little louder and saying the same things, and stuff he was saying wasn't really funny. And I was just sitting there going, we are not present. We are not connected anymore. Right. And, so alcohol addiction, and so, let's think about flow, right? When I've been in situations like in a bar or whatever, and everybody's drinking and everybody's loud, it's like, do you feel like you're having like meaningful conversations? Is there a flow? It's usually like somebody butts in, and as soon as it really, when you think about flow, like when you're in that state of flow, which just feels so good.
I cannot reach a state of flow when I'm drinking. I can't remember, when I think back,
you're just
like,
numb.
It's numb. And I loved your example of like that, because that came to me too. It's like Yeah, like you become a different person. Your personality changes. You might become sad or angry, or it's definitely not fun. It's like you think it's fun. Yeah.
Well,
And
we've been conditioned to believe it's fun. So it's this belief. And like you said, it's supposed to hit our feelings. So our limbic brain, which doesn't have language to it. So it's just a feeling. Like, so it's in that belief sense. And so we have to use, and this is where you have to use the liminal process in order to
yes.
reach those deep beliefs. And we do this through, the science, like new information and kind of challenging our beliefs, but also through experience. So if you go out and you have a good time, you start to notice, oh, I am actually having fun and I'm not drinking. And so you start to have that experience and it starts to
Right.
change those deep seated beliefs. You start to think critically. You know, we don't learn that in our childhood. We just watch TV, we watch commercials and believe everything we're told on these commercials, right? We don't think critically like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
or, and like you said, they don't show, you know, the person's throwing up in the gutter and somebody holding their hair. Like, here you are. That's connected. Oh, my girlfriend's holding my hair. We're so connected. You know what I mean? Like, that was
Yeah.
me when I would drink because I just didn't have a very high tolerance. And then I also didn't have an off switch. So once I had a little, I would just keep drinking until I got to the point, well, as I got older, I had a higher tolerance. But when I was young, when you would look at me in my 20s, I was the girl barfing in the gutter,
Yeah.
you know, because I
Yeah.
just, you know, yeah, they bring out the Jello shots and then forget it.
Yeah. But if we go
Yeah.
back to, what I would love to talk about too is that we are allowed to change our beliefs around what is fun. And I do think
Yes.
as we age, we might think whatever we thought was fun in our 20s is what we think we should feel is fun in our like 40s or 50s or 60s. But we are allowed, like when I asked my son, like here's an example. I asked him, so what's fun? You know, when he was 21, I remember, and he's like going fast and doing all these, you know, fast and doing this and, you know, extreme sports. And I was like, yeah, I think I used to think that too in my 20s. But what's fun now? I mean, connecting with friends, maybe playing games, being in my garden. I mean, all the things we talk about feeling lit
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
are actually fun because I get into that playfulness, flow. And what was the third thing? You said playfulness, flow, and there was three things.
Connection.
In connection. I mean, you can
Yeah.
connect to yourself, you can connect to nature, you can connect to others. And honestly, alcohol was not doing that for me. So so to answer the question, we do this liminal process, just like Susan was saying, and you start to change the definition of fun, really, and
Right.
change your beliefs around what is alcohol adding to the fun or taking it away. You know,
Yeah, yeah. And the more experiences you have, the more aware of this fun. And so you were using the examples of like your 20s. I would even go back to even your childhood, like 5 to 12 years old. Like, what did you do for fun then? Like, I used to love reading. I just read so much. I read every single Nancy Drew book. Me and my cousin had like a competition, and I loved reading. I loved drawing, and I haven't even really explored drawing. I used to love drawing like home plans. Maybe I should have been like an architect or something. Also, I really wanted my own room. I shared a room with my sister. So I was always trying to redesign our house where I could have my own room. But, you know, like just using your imagination, I got into acting and singing. And so those were really fun things for me. And so so what I love is when I see clients start to look at fun in a different way and like all of a sudden join a theater group. I have a client that's like now doing plays and started out like just in the chorus, or just he's a small part, and now has a bigger part in a Shakespeare play, which is amazing.
That's
And
amazing.
I know, or starting to play the ukulele or an instrument, going, oh, I used to play guitar, but now, or
Yeah.
piano, or just those things,
So
they bring true joy.
yeah, so Susan, that is a question for our listeners right now. I would love for you to just, what did you used to do? And I like your age range of like 5 to 12. Like, what was it? And maybe it's something you just completely forgot. Especially if you started drinking, say in high school, or you might have just completely forgot what you really love to do. And this isn't, I mean, it's really fun with clients to, yes, I have clients that joined choral groups, started knitting, did all kinds of sports, whatever, you name it. They're out there exercising or doing fun
Yeah.
sports, or joining women's groups, doing things, stepping outside of their comfort zone. So there's
Line
so many
dancing.
things. Yes, line dancing.
Drumming, those drumming circles, like there's
Yeah.
so many fun things. Hiking. The thing is, and this is a big problem also in our culture, is that wine, alcohol, has just infused everything. It's like
Yes.
now you go to yoga and it's yoga and wine, and I'm just like,
Right.
what?
Yeah,
Now you go,
painting
painting and
painting and
wine.
wine, exactly. Or you even
Yeah,
do something like run a marathon, and then it's like a big drink fest after, which to me is just like what? But
crazy because you're
yeah,
dehydrated. Well, so back to the first question though, because and both of them actually, but the first one's like, or this idea of how am I going to celebrate my anniversary without champagne, or, champagne with everything. Every celebration needs champagne, needs a toast. How do we start to question that belief? How do we, and because in the beginning, it really is a true thing to you. So
yes,
it's hard to get your head around and go, oh no, that's not true. So how we do this is through a thought turnaround and ladder thoughts, right?
yes.
When we work with clients. So we say, well, are you willing to start to, like you said, let's challenge this. So we look at some of the science, we look at this. So you're willing to think about it in a different way. And then the latter thought, because most of the times we can't turn this around, all the way, like, oh, I don't think alcohol's fun anymore, is, and this is where the experiential learning comes in, is you're willing to experiment. I'm willing to see if still going out to a happy hour is fun. Like, what is a happy hour to me? Like, reconfiguring what is
Hmm.
quote unquote happy hour. And for the second listener's question, it is, I would, as a coach, recommend what are some other tools that you can use to regulate your nervous system before going out into a social situation where you can feel calm, you can feel your authentic self, and experiment with that. So then that turnaround thought might be like, I'm willing to try these other tools versus using alcohol as the tool to calm my nervous system before going out.
With social
And
anxiety,
with
yeah.
social anxiety,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. And I have a great tool for social anxiety.
Is
So
this the one we're
is
gonna
a,
do for Feel
yeah,
Lit?
for the
Oh,
feel it.
well, this
So,
could be a good
but
segue. Yeah.
oh, well, so yeah, so the two tools that we would use is a thought turnaround. So you'd say, I'm willing to, oh, there we go. I'm willing to explore. I got the weird thumbs up come up on my screen. I'm willing to explore. I'm willing to experiment, that experimental mindset, that curiosity, and then try, try some other tools, and then come back and go, oh, okay, yeah, how was that?
How
And
was
then,
it?
and
Hmm.
how was it? What did I notice?
Hmm.
That's what I love to ask clients. Well, what did you notice when I went out? Oh, well, so like nothing's going to be all one thing. So I noticed when I went out, let's say the first example, I noticed that I went out that once that there wasn't connection. I did notice that, once everyone was drinking, I noticed I really wasn't connecting with them. And so if you're not connecting with them when they're drinking and you're not drinking, then how were you ever connecting with them when you were drinking? Like,
Right.
then it's two people with the shades down, right? So,
That
and then
was
maybe you go,
me.
oh, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And then for the second one, it's like I'm willing to experiment with some tools to help with social anxiety. And so one of the tools, and this is what I have been experimenting with myself, that is my Feel It tool for today. So it's kind of a twofer here.
I'm
It's a
so
tool
excited
and
to
it's a
learn
Feel
about
It.
this.
So
Yeah.
is called havening. And it's a very interesting technique. You can Google it, and we can put a link to a YouTube video that'll kind of show you how to do it. But I can demonstrate it. So so it's basically a self-soothing technique. So when we were talking about, our limbic and our amygdala, those are our feeling senses. Though that's the part of our brain that is feeling like it needs something when we go out. It's feeling dysregulated, and we were using alcohol to regulate. Um, so you would want to get that back to safety. So then you can engage your prefrontal cortex and go, oh, okay, yeah, I don't really want to drink, right? So, or I'm experimenting with not drinking in this social situation. So the havening is basically kind of like I have my arms crossed over, my hands on my shoulders. It's like giving yourself a little hug,
Okay.
and you stroke from your shoulder down to your elbows, and you just sort of take a moment and you just breathe and you stroke. And so almost like you would be soothing a young child, like when they're upset, you don't start yelling at them. So if you're feeling upset before going out, this is what or just dysregulated or a little bit nervous, a little social anxiety, like yelling at yourself and going, what's wrong with me? Isn't really going to help, right? So you want to soothe yourself. So one of the moves is from your shoulders to your elbows. Another one is just rubbing your palms together and just feeling the sensations of rubbing your palms. And you can kind of move through these different. And the other one, which there's two more. One of them is across your forehead and down your face. And across your forehead, it feels so good. And then so you can move through that and just see how it makes you feel. And then the other one is almost as if you're wiping a tear away. So it's under your eyes and off to the side, like you're wiping tears away. And it's similar to tapping in that you're just sort of connecting with your body. You're connecting and you're soothing. So a lot of people really like the one from your shoulders to your elbows. Some people really like the palms. What's great is the palm one, especially, is if you're sitting at a table and you start to feel dysregulated, you can just sort of start rubbing your palms together to just sort of soothe your nervous system. You go to the ladies' room, do the whole thing, do a little routine. There's a 5-minute video that we can put in the show notes as a resource to just sort of teach you this. Like just doing this for this few moments, I feel much calmer.
I feel calmer. I
Isn't
love
that
this.
amazing?
Havening. Yeah.
Havening.
And were your eyes closed, or I guess you
I
could
had
do
them
it
closed,
either
but
way?
you can keep them open. Yeah, you
Okay.
can keep them open. Yeah. So just doing that before you go, and then just seeing, like, once you get a mocktail in hand, and that's one of our techniques that we've talked about in social situations, and then let's start, socializing. Also for the shy person, maybe that's not fun for you. You know what I mean? Like, you're not a big group person.
Yeah.
I'm an extrovert, but I'm not a big group person. Because I like that connection. And I feel like in big groups, you just sort of have this little small talk thing.
Get curious and like
Yeah.
like I said, redefine what's fun, redefine what's comfortable instead of just doing and being this person who you were drinking. You get to figure out who you really are, alcohol free, which is so cool.
Your authentic self. And that authentic self is fun and funny just the way you are. And that's how I am in a smaller group. I'm usually fun and funny, but in a bigger group, I get anxious too. I don't really love big group activities.
Yeah.
This came up too with somebody that I was working with, where they were like, well, alcohol lets me, just sit around the campfire and drink for 6 hours. And I'm like, is that really fun?
Is that fun?
Like, if it's not, and she's like, well, it helps me so it's like it numbs you to be able to do this activity, but is the activity even fun? Do you even want to do that? I'm like, do you want to sit around the campfire for 6 hours? And it's like, no, so she's like, well, then just don't do it. You know what I mean? If it's not fun for you. So Like we get
So
to also decide what's fun for us and then choose to do that activity or not choose to do it. Like you can start having boundaries and go, well, that's not fun. I don't want to do that. Don't do it.
exactly. So
Yeah.
this was such a jam-packed episode with tools and real clear ways, I think, to help redefine fun
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
rediscover yourself. Maybe go back to your childhood, like we talked, and what did you used to like to do, or what's on your bucket list for the future. And yeah, I think, like I said, what you think is fun in your 20s can be totally different than what you think is fun in your 50s. That was my example with my son and I.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, thank you for introducing
Yeah.
me and the listeners to havening. I felt way calmer just doing that with you. Yeah.
Great,
So,
great. Well, I mean,
Well,
this is a big conversation. We can have it again and again,
yeah.
like I said, it's an experiential process. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
love to hear from people.
Keep the questions coming. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for listening to Feel Lit Alcohol Free Podcast. Do you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show?
All you need to do is head over to Apple Podcasts and do two simple things. Leave a rating and review telling us what you think of the show. And in that review, ask us any questions you have about breaking free from wine or living an alcohol-free lifestyle.
That's it. Then tune in to hear your question answered live. Don't forget to grab your copy of A Wine-Free Weekend at www.feelitpodcasts.com.
And remember, do something today that will help you feel lit.
See you next time.